If your muscles twitch, feel shaky, or suddenly seem weaker, it's easy to assume something serious is happening. But in many cases, the cause is common and fixable. The tricky part is that twitching and weakness can come from totally different systems: nerves, minerals, sleep, stress, and even how you train. So the goal isn't to panic. The goal is to narrow it down. In this breakdown, you'll learn the most likely reasons your muscles are misfiring, and the simple checks that often reveal the pattern. We'll start with the fast wins: hydration, electrolytes, and recovery, then move into training mistakes, stimulants, and nerve irritation. I'll also tell you when twitching is more than normal and what red flags should push you to get evaluated. By the end, you should be able to describe your symptoms clearly and take a few practical steps that make your body feel steady again. Moving to slide 2. First, let's define what you're feeling. A twitch is usually a small, involuntary muscle contraction, often called a fasciculation. It can look like a tiny pulse under the skin or feel like a flutter. Weakness is different. Sometimes it's true strength loss, like you can't lift what you normally can. Other times it's fatigue, heaviness, or that jelly-like feeling. That distinction matters because twitching often comes from nerve excitability, while weakness can come from energy supply, recovery, or inflammation. Also, notice the distribution. Is it one eyelid, one calf, or all over? Is it at rest, after exercise, or at night? And how long does it last? Seconds, hours, or weeks? When you can describe the timing and location, you stop guessing. You start problem solving. And that's where the most common causes become easier to spot. Moving to slide 3. One of the most common, fixable triggers is dehydration, especially when you sweat, drink alcohol, or simply forget fluids. When your fluid balance drops, nerves can become more irritable, and muscles may cramp, twitch, or feel weak. The key is that dehydration isn't just not enough water. It's also losing sodium and other electrolytes that help your nerves fire normally. If you drink a lot of plain water after heavy sweating, you can still feel off because the minerals didn't get replaced. Practical check. Look at your urine color across the day and notice if symptoms show up after heat, long walks, or workouts. A simple approach is steady fluids, plus salt with meals, and electrolyte-containing drinks when you're sweating a lot. If you have heart, kidney, or blood pressure conditions, electrolyte changes should be discussed with a clinician. For everyone else, this is often a quick win. Moving to slide 4. Now let's talk electrolytes, because twitching often shows up when the balance is off. The big ones are magnesium, potassium, calcium, and sodium. You don't need to memorize biochemistry. Just know this: muscles contract and relax based on electrical signals, and electrolytes help control those signals. Low magnesium is commonly linked with cramps and twitching, and it can be affected by diet, heavy sweating, and some digestive issues. Low potassium can cause weakness and cramping, and it's more likely if you're losing fluids or not eating enough overall. Calcium plays a role in contraction, and vitamin D status can influence calcium regulation. The practical move is food first. Leafy greens, beans, dairy, or fortified alternatives, potatoes, bananas, nuts, and seeds, depending on what you tolerate. If symptoms are persistent, a clinician can check levels with labs, because supplementing blindly isn't always safe. Moving to slide 5. Sleep is another huge driver, and people underestimate it because it feels unrelated to muscles. When you're sleep deprived, your nervous system runs hot. That can increase muscle twitches, internal tremor, and that wired but tired weakness. Poor sleep also reduces recovery hormones and increases perceived effort, so normal tasks feel heavier. If your twitching spikes after late nights, shift work, or inconsistent schedules, that's a strong clue. 2 simple checks help. First, look at total sleep time and consistency, not just one night. Second, notice caffeine timing, because caffeine late in the day can fragment sleep even if you fall asleep fine. A practical reset is a consistent wake time, a darker, cooler room, and cutting caffeine at least 8 hours before bed. If you snore loudly or wake gasping, sleep apnea is worth discussing with a clinician. Moving to slide 6. Stress and anxiety can absolutely show up in your muscles. When your body is in a fight-or-flight state, adrenaline increases nerve firing and muscle tension. That can lead to twitching, trembling, jaw clenching, and a feeling of weakness. because tense muscles fatigue faster. There's also a common loop. You notice a twitch, you worry, and the worry makes the twitching worse. One helpful test is to see what happens when you deliberately downshift your system for 5 minutes. Slow breathing, longer exhales, a short walk, or a warm shower can reduce symptoms if stress is a major driver. This doesn't mean it's all in your head. It means your nervous system is part of the equation. If stress is chronic, the fix is rarely one technique. It's usually routine changes, sleep, workload boundaries, and regular low-intensity movement. Moving to slide 7. Training is a big one, especially if you've increased volume, intensity, or new movements. After hard sessions, muscle fibers and the nerves that control them can stay excitable. That's why twitches often show up in calves, quads, or shoulders after training blocks. Weakness can also be simple overreaching. You're not fully recovered, so performance drops. 2 clues: symptoms that are localized to the muscles you trained, and symptoms that improve after a few easier days. The fix is not to stop moving, it's to adjust load. Keep intensity, reduce volume for a week, or swap in lower impact work. Also check your warm-up and your technique, because sloppy reps can irritate tissues and nerves. If you're training fasted or under-eating, that can stack the deck toward weakness too. Moving to slide 8. Under-eating is a sneaky cause of weakness, and sometimes twitching too. If you're in a calorie deficit, skipping meals, or cutting carbs aggressively, your muscles may simply have less glycogen, stored fuel. That can feel like sudden fatigue, shaky legs on stairs, or a weaker pump in the gym. Low protein over time can also reduce recovery and make muscles feel flat. Another piece is low iron, especially if you have heavy periods, follow a low-meat diet, or have digestive issues. Low iron doesn't just affect energy, it can make exercise feel disproportionately hard. A practical check is whether symptoms improve after a balanced meal with carbs, protein, and salt. If you suspect iron issues, labs like ferritin are the right way to confirm. The goal isn't to eat perfectly, it's to eat enough, consistently, for what you ask your body to do. Moving to slide 9. Stimulants and certain supplements can make twitching much more noticeable. Caffeine is the obvious one, but it's not just coffee. It's energy drinks, pre-workout formulas, fat burners, and even some headache products. Stimulants increase nervous system activity, and that can amplify benign twitches, eyelid fluttering, and a jittery weakness. Another factor is withdrawal. If you swing between high caffeine days and zero caffeine days, your nervous system can feel unstable. The practical move is to track total caffeine, not just cups. Then tighten the timing, earlier in the day, smaller doses, and avoid stacking multiple sources. Also check for dehydration and low sleep, because caffeine plus poor recovery is a common combo. If you use supplements, scan labels for high stimulants, and consider simplifying for 2 weeks to see what changes. Moving to slide 10. Sometimes the issue is local nerve irritation, not the muscle itself. A nerve can be compressed or sensitized by posture, repetitive motion, or tight tissues. That can create twitching, tingling, or weakness in a specific pattern, like symptoms down one arm or into the hand or along one leg. Common examples include irritation around the neck, affecting the arm, or around the lower back, affecting the leg. Clues include numbness, pins and needles, pain that travels, or weakness that's clearly one-sided. The fix depends on the cause, but often starts with reducing the aggravating position, adding gentle mobility, and improving workstation or sleep posture. If weakness is progressing, or you're dropping objects, tripping, or losing coordination, that's a stronger reason to get evaluated. Nerves usually respond best when you catch irritation early. Moving to slide 11. There are also medical conditions that can contribute to twitching and weakness, and it's worth knowing the common ones. Thyroid imbalance can change metabolism and muscle function, sometimes causing tremor, fatigue, or weakness. Blood sugar swings can create shakiness and low energy feelings, especially if you go long gaps without eating. Certain infections, inflammatory conditions, and vitamin deficiencies like B12 can affect nerves and muscles too. The point isn't to self-diagnose, it's to recognize when basic fixes aren't enough. If twitching is widespread and persistent, if weakness is clearly worsening, or if you have other symptoms like unexplained weight change, heat or cold intolerance, or persistent numbness, labs can be a reasonable next step. A good clinician will often start with a focused history and a few targeted tests, not a huge workup. You're looking for clarity, not catastrophes. Moving to slide 12. Let's get practical with a simple self-check framework you can use for a week. First, write down when twitching happens: morning, evening, after exercise, or at rest. Second, note your sleep duration and caffeine timing. Third, track training load, especially any recent jumps in volume or new exercises. Fourth, check hydration and sweating, and whether you're salting food normally. Fifth, note meals, especially long gaps, low-carb days, or low overall intake. In many people, a pattern shows up fast. Then you can run one controlled experiment at a time. For example, keep training the same, but improve sleep consistency. Or keep sleep the same, but add electrolytes during sweaty sessions. The biggest mistake is changing 5 things at once and learning nothing. If symptoms improve, you've found leverage. If they don't, you've gathered clean information you can bring to a clinician. Moving to slide 13. Now the red flags. Most twitching is benign, but some combinations deserve faster medical attention. If you have sudden severe weakness, facial drooping, trouble speaking, or new confusion, that's urgent. If you have progressive weakness over days to weeks, especially with muscle wasting, loss of coordination, or frequent falls, get evaluated. If twitching comes with significant numbness, bowel or bladder changes, or severe back or neck pain, that also matters. And if you're getting cramps plus dark urine after intense exercise, that's a reason to seek care quickly. For the more common situation, intermittent twitching with normal strength, start with the basics we covered and monitor trends. The goal is to respect the symptom without catastrophizing it. Your body is giving you feedback. When you respond with good recovery, steady fueling, and smart training, twitching often fades into the background. Moving to slide 14. Let's wrap this into a simple action plan. If your muscles twitch and feel weak, start with the highest probability fixes: consistent sleep, steady hydration with adequate salt, and enough total food, especially protein and carbs around activity. Then look at training load. If you've been pushing hard, take a planned deload week and see what happens. Next, tighten stimulant use and avoid stacking caffeine sources. If symptoms are one-sided, include tingling or follow a clear nerve pattern, reduce the aggravating positions, and consider a clinical evaluation if it's not improving. And if you notice red flags, sudden severe weakness, progressive loss of function, or major sensory changes, don't wait it out. If you want more videos like this, subscribe. And for a quick check-in, comment with your pattern. Do your twitches happen mostly at rest or mostly after exercise? A or B? This information is not a substitute for medical advice.